Welcome back. If you missed part 1, go check it out, but here's the gist. We covered the first 5 things I'd wish I'd known before going abroad with ADHD. Now in part 2, we're getting into the rest. The mindset shifts, the system and habit changes, and the hard truths that changed everything for me. Let's get into it. Section 6, the bureaucracy multiplies. I honestly thought the hardest part of moving overseas would be the emotional stuff. Missing my parents, missing my best friends, not being able to just run to Target when I need something. Oh my gosh, I was so naive because the hardest part, paperwork, visas, visa applications, residency permits, bank forms, pet permits, driver's licenses. It is an absolute nightmare of executive dysfunction. Confusing deadlines, tiny details. I missed all of the time. Instructions that made no sense. Bureaucracy is a perfect storm for an ADHD brain. It demands everything, honestly. And we struggle with organization, planning, attention to detail, starting tasks, managing our time. And time blindness makes us underestimate how long things take. And the boring volume of it leads to that infamous ADHD paralysis. So you may be wondering, what's the fix for this? Honestly, I can just share what I've done. And I know that people have a lot of different tools and strategies they use. But for me, I found making friends with a local national who can guide you is just the best possible measure the entire time you live in that country. If you can afford it, also, you can consider hiring an immigration lawyer or relocation specialist. Honestly, it's worth every penny. You could also consider using body doubling to get paperwork done. Keep a desktop file organizer for quick reference and store your critical documents in a fireproof bag. I'm telling you, it sounds like unnecessary until it's not. Plan for everything to take 3 times longer than you think it's going to take. And do this before you go. Check local laws around your specific medications. Some common ADHD prescriptions are completely banned in certain countries. One thing I do in my job is help people moving overseas and offer them the information they need about where they're going, the medications that are and are not allowed, and I generally help advise them on strategies for the actual place they're going. And medication is one of the things that trip people up the most. Sometimes people reach out to me and they've already selected their destination. Unfortunately, they've made all this progress, but they didn't realize that the medications they need for their neurodivergent brain or their child who's neurodivergent are not going to be accessible in that country. So make sure you work on medication management and you get the information generally about local laws, local school systems before you finalize the place that you're moving or traveling to. Number 7, your emotional thermostat may not work so well. Living abroad, my moods were all over the place. One moment, I was on top of the world watching the sunset, and then the next, I'm on the verge of tears because I couldn't find my hair conditioner. The stress of the move, homesickness, communication, barriers, and the lack of familiarity created an intense emotional cocktail. ADHD and emotional regulation, they really go hand in hand. And all the new stressors of living abroad, they crank that dial all the way up. So you're constantly outside your comfort zone. Your usual support network, They're like 6 time zones away. You're managing intense emotional waves on your own, maybe for the first time. So, what's helped me? I try my best to get out of my head and back into my body. When emotions spiral, you can't think your way out of it. You actually have to move, you know? For me, that's putting headphones on, long, fast walks. For you, it might be yoga or running, or I don't know, a 5-minute dance party in your living room, whatever, no judgment. Breathing exercises are also powerful and portable. Also, I would consider a white noise machine or an eye mask. Both of those can create a pocket of calm when you need it the most. Number 8, you have to create safe spaces. When I first moved to India, I kept waiting to find a place that felt like home. Sort of like, like a cafe on the corner, a bookstore nearby. But everywhere I went, I felt like a tourist. I could never relax, take off the mask, and just exist and be me. Look, that's not about India specifically. It's the feeling of being an outsider in a foreign country, and it's draining. A safe space isn't just a physical place, it's psychological safety, a place to unmask and just be your authentic, unfiltered self. These spaces don't just appear, they have to be intentionally created. What has helped me is really making sure that my home and my flat, that rented room you have, that must be your sanctuary. Invest in things that create calm, a cozy reading nook, warm tone lamps, plush rug, a weighted blanket. When you walk in, your nervous system should say, "You can relax now, you can breathe." Blue light blocking glasses in the evening, well, that's been helpful because your brain knows it's time to wind down. And socially, find people you can actually feel safe with, not just people that are filling your social calendar. That often means seeking out other neurodivergent people and taking time to know them organically. Hope you're enjoying today's episode. If anything I'm saying is hitting home, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell for our future episodes. It helps so much. We're trying to build a Neurospicy community, and you absolutely belong. Thanks for joining. Now, back to today's episode. Number 9, your impulsivity is a double-edged sword. Let's be honest. My impulsivity is probably why I booked one-way tickets to multiple countries. And honestly, I wouldn't trade those experiences. But that same impulsivity gave me some learning experiences. For example, the time I spontaneously decided to go to Vienna, but I put my passport in my luggage, which was in another part of the train. So we crossed a border and they checked everyone's documents, and I was asked to get off at the next stop because I didn't have my passport on me. And honestly, I just forgot where it was. I also can't count the times I've said yes to multiple social events in one day and crashed insanely. Impulsivity can be a superpower to some because it makes us flexible, creative, open to adventure. But unchecked in a new environment with endless stimulation, it leads to poor planning, money stress, and burnout. So you may be asking, what can fix, what can help this? I would recommend working with your impulsive energy and not against it. Again, just from following great therapists and great coaches, and also taking some tools and recommendations from people who have experienced hardship from living abroad. And they all agree. You want to work with the energy that you have, especially when the dopamine is hitting you in this new country. Keep your documents in a passport holder so you're ready when that great impulse strikes. Use a 24-hour rule for non-essential purchases or plans. So if you're still excited a full day later, all right, go for it. Pay for that train ticket. That pause is often enough to separate a genuine desire from a random dopamine chase. And finally, number 10, burnout is gonna happen. When I first moved to Lagos, Nigeria, I hit a wall hard. About 6 months in, I was done. Getting out of bed felt like the biggest effort. My focus was gone, anxiety through the roof, and all I could think about was going home, back to the United States, the very place I just left. Why? I was convinced that I had failed. And for this perfectionist, that was the ultimate price. Neurodivergent burnout is real, and moving abroad pours gasoline on that fire. Constant sensory processing, paperwork, new languages, social masking, and losing your support system. It's a lot. And I need to make sure I say this clearly. Burnout is not a sign that you're weak or failing. And I want to make sure I say that because I've had some wonderful people share that with me during some of my weakest moments. Burnout is a predictable outcome of putting a neurodivergent brain in a high demand, low support environment for too long. So you may be asking, what's a solution for this? What I've learned is you cannot power through neurodivergent burnout. You have to get ahead of it. Prioritize sleep. Build routines that save your brain power. Manage your sensory overload and stimulation. I would also venture to say that a lot of what I talked about throughout these recommendations, this is an accumulation of all of them. You need to say no. Say no to the things that overstimulate you. Build your support network before you desperately need it. Most importantly, learn your personal early warning signs, which is something it took me a very long time to do. For me, it's losing my keys more often. Remember, I said I have to put a little table right next to my front door right after I moved to a new place. And that's one reason why. Forgetting things right before I walk out the door, that's another one. Frequent migraines, that's another more painful one. And just irritability over small things. When those appear, hit the brakes. Just stop. Cancel plans. Order takeout. Don't cook. Protect yourself and your peace. Don't think of it like it's an indulgence. It is actually a method of survival. Look, what I want you to take away. Living abroad with ADHD or any kind of neurodivergence is not impossible, and it has been some of the most rewarding times of my life. It forced me to know myself deeply, and I've had experiences I wouldn't trade for anything. The journey is different for us. It requires more self-awareness, more deliberate planning, and different strategies than any travel guide will ever give you. You have to throw away that conventional rule book or generic YouTube video about how to just go somewhere in a week and write your own. It takes more work, more rest, and an incredible amount of self-kindness. Honestly, I would say the richness of the experience, the depth of the learning, and the confidence that you're going to build when you find your footing on your own terms is absolutely worth all of this. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 10 things hit hardest for you? If you're thinking about living abroad with ADHD or neurodivergent, I don't want this video to scare you off. Let it prepare you, because when you go in with your eyes open and your systems in place, living abroad isn't just possible, it's incredible. I'm Tamarin, the neurodivergent diplomat, and this is Live Abroad with ADHD, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks for joining. Bye.